From Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, this is Poker Night in America.
What's up, guys? Doug Polk here, and welcome to a very special episode of Poker Night in America. I'll be your host tonight, and with me is everyone's favorite fitness icon, Shaun Deeb.
You weren't expecting us, were you? Don't worry, Chris is around here somewhere, but Stapes is busy working on his tan in the Bahamas.
I know you're a bit disappointed, but Shaun and I are more than excited to guide you through this cornucopia of tournament poker hosted by the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida.
4 major tournaments with 4 final tables, all converged on one night in this massive event, the Big Four.
We kicked off the week at Seminole Hard Rock by partying and pokering for a good cause. As part of Matt Scout's charity series of poker, celebrities from the felt to the silver screen were all on hand to raise money for Brad Garrett's Maximum Hope Foundation. We'll come back to that later on this episode, but for now it's time to turn our attention to our main event.
The Big Four is part of the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open, Florida's most popular series of poker tournaments. Over 2,300 of the best players in the world descended upon Hollywood, Florida for this poker battle royale, culminating in these 4 final tables.
Shaun and I will be focusing mainly on the $5,000 championship event. Chris Hansen is here to tell us about the 3 other final tables. Chris?
Thank you very much, Shaun and Doug. Let's get started first with the $1,100 event. This event had 828 entries and some re-entries to make a prize pool of $828,000. And now let's check out our $1,100 buy-in final table. Adam Cratch, Jordan Jokel, George Boyagine, Guy Smith, Marsha Wolak, Phil Hui, Daniel Bouzgan, Aaron Massey, and Russ Deichstein. And now for the 2650 No Limit Hold'em, which had 594 entries, creating a prize pool of over $1.2 million. Here is our final table. Nick Imicus, James Gilbert, Jeffrey Chang, Dan Highmiller, Bradley Schneider, Jerry Wong, Hooray Aldemer, Taylor Wilson, and finally Dermot Blaine. Next, we check out the $25,500 High Roller Tournament. Now, this had 105 entries for a prize pool of a nose-bleeding $2.6 million. And at that final table, we see Marvin Rettenmeyer, Daniel Strelitz, Francisco Picasso. Next is Ray Cartomi. In Seed 5, no stranger to Seminole Hard Rock. After winning the main event a couple of years ago and taking 3rd last year, we now find Dan Coleman. Rainier Kempke. Next is Barry Hutter. Next up is Angelko Andreevich. And in Seat 9 is Nick Petrangelo. All right, that's it for the side tables. Now let's get back to you guys with the main event.
Thanks, Chris. These 9 players have survived a colossal field of over 800 entrants. Will now battle out for first place and $1 million. The rest of the payouts are nothing to laugh about either. First person knocked out of this table will still leave with $75,000.
We better mention, too, in addition to Chris, Shaun, and I, you're going to see our MCs of the event, Maria Ho and Ali Najad, running around on the floor.
Congratulations to all the players for making the final table of the Big Four. Good luck to all of you.
Tom Medina coming as the chip leader with 74 big blinds. We're coming to a 30K, 60K, small blind, big blind with a 10K ante from all players.
Right, and we can see here that the chips are pretty relatively equally spread. I mean, obviously we have a pretty big difference.
You have like 3 different tiers. You got the like 3 big stacks, 3 middle stacks, and 3 short stacks. So you're gonna see a lot of people battling, trying to get that chip advantage to take control of this table and abuse these big pay jumps that are about to be coming. So Jason Kuhn opens with his standard 2.5x.
And Bert wakes up with jacks, and I have to imagine we're going to be seeing a 3-bet here.
Nope, Bert elects to just call.
Well, I stand corrected. But, usually when you have these strong pairs, you're going to want to re-raise opens, especially from bigger stacks, to get some value and try and knock some hands out that have equity.
And now Bert decides to check to Kuhn, who is the aggressor. Kuhn's going to continue with the continuation bet about 1/3 pot, 135K. Turn brings a deuce, bringing a second flush draw on the board.
Now, Bert's going to check here, and Kuhn has kind of an interesting decision with King Jack. When you have a Jack in your hand, that's not a card you really want to have. You want him to have a hand like Queen Jack or Jack 10.
We see a bet and a snap call, and Bert's going to find out the bad news. He just got 3 outed.
If there was only a way that that didn't have to go down like that.
It's poker. There's a lot of ways to play every hand.
You've got an all-in and a call here over at the 1100 final table.
Well, Doug, it looks like we have an all-in at the 1100 table. Who's at risk, Chris?
Well, Shaun, it's Daniel Boozcon who has ran his ace-10 right into kings. Russ Dykstein has him covered with his kings. If Boozcon cannot win this hand, he's going to be eliminated in 9th place, and he will walk away with 15.5 thousand. And here comes the flop. A couple of 9s, but no ace for Boozcon. Turn is a king, and that will do it. Boozcon is now drawing dead. Daniel Boozcon leaves with $15,500. We have 8 players that are left at the $1,100 table. We still have full tables going at the other 3 here at the Big Four. And so, guys, our first player is eliminated. 36 is now down to 35. Let's get back to you with more of the main event action.
Thanks, Chris. And we'll be checking in more with those side tables later.
So it's up to Seth in the big blind with king, queen off.
All in.
And he decides to risk all of Joe's chips. And Joe snaps him off.
In general, with King Queen, the big blind, it's not a question of does jam make money, because I think it does. It's a question of what makes more, jam or call. And if people are opening tight to the point where they're folding ace, jack, and 7s, then King Queen can become a really, really terrible.
But those are also ace, jack, and 7s in early position. It's not necessarily what people are on the button, you know. Seth and Flo's have a lot of history online, and so they're going to expect a lot of things. So Joe ended up doubling up here to over $3 million, and now he's, you know, getting close to one of the chip leaders. We'll be back with more action-packed 9-handed play after this.
Welcome back to the Big Four at Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. Poker Night is brought to you by Sit and Go 2.0. Go to sitandgo20.net and claim a free Sit and Go 2.0 strategy ebook. Queen 10 of spades here for Jason Kuhn. We are going to be seeing a raise.
Yeah, I think we're seeing Jason, you know, knowing that he's one of the most experienced people at this final table, and he's going to definitely apply pressure with his chip stack.
Ace 10 suited here. What do you think we're going to see?
I think we're going to see a call. I think, you know, he's one of the more amateurish players at this final table. The majority of his opponents are full-time poker players. Their sole income is poker.
I really don't mind seeing a flat here from ace 10 suited if you're at a table without a lot of re-raising, because it's a hand that plays well post-flop. You know, you're going to get some flops with clubs, you know, obviously an ace or a 10, some Broadway draws, and gives you, you know, some playability to not just have a lot of like the middle pocket pair type hands that you might want to flop behind.
So we see Flo's here flop a set, and no one else really flop anything.
I think we're going to see a continuation bet from Jason Kuhn. He's got some reasonable removal, some backdoor equity. King high flop is usually a little bit more favorable for the pre-flop raiser. They have a few more kings, like ace king, that the players behind just aren't going to have because they're going to be 3-betting them. However, sets are in play, and we see bottom set here with the call. Now, some players might want to go for a raise in the flop, but one of the things I like about calling is if your opponent was bluffing, you keep him in the pot. However, the jack of spades peels off on the turn, which if you're Jason Kuhn, you've got to be pretty happy now.
Yeah, I mean, that is the sole best card in the deck, and he still only has 30% versus Joe's set.
But oh, when it gets there. So we see a barrel now, and I think we're going to see Joe continue to call here.
Yeah, they're going to have close to a pot-sized bet. There's going to be about 2.5 million back. And, you know, Joe with position can make some really good decisions. And he's hoping that Jason, you know, doesn't have as much equity as he does. But we'll see what happens on this river card.
I believe that's a flush, Deeb. So now in Jason's shoes, the question is to bet or to trap. And I think we're going to see him continue to tell his story with a third barrel.
All in. He goes for the whole lot.
Now this is not what Sirach wanted to see here.
Looks like over here at the 2650, we have an all-in and call.
Sounds like something's going on over at the 2650 table. What's happening, Chris?
Yeah, that's right, guys. We got some action. Hopefully, we'll get back to Joe Sirach before his decision is made. We're over here at the 2650 table, and James Gilbert is all in with 9s versus Daniel Highmiller with 10s. Jerry Wong has already been eliminated in 9th place. 8th place pays just over $30,000. No 9 for Gilbert.
Turn pairs to
Turn
eight.
pairs the board.
James is looking-
And it's no 9 on the river, and so James Gilbert is gone. He wins $30,800. That means we're down to 7 players in the 2650 event. Also at the other tables, we have 7 players left at the high roller, 5 players are left at the $1,100, and 9 players are still remaining in the championship. So that's what's going on over here. Now let's get back to you, Shaun and Doug, and Joe Sirach with a tough decision here against Jason Kuhn.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Here on the river against Joe Sirach.
It's good for the game.
Joe decides to fold.
I don't want to know.
Big laydown.
For the game.
You know, when you flop a set on King 5-3 Rainbow, you're not thinking about folding too often. But Joe played it absolutely perfect.
He really did manage to get his money in ahead and get out when he was behind.
So Jason's now a comfortable chip leader right now. I really expect to see a new gear from him now, covering everyone so significantly.
With the chip lead, you definitely want to look to put some more pressure on the table. Again, you can't bust, they can. Let them know that and try and take some people out.
So Joe's going to open here to 140 with 2 8s in the hijack. Roman wakes up with ace-jack suited in the small blind.
You about 2.3 to start?
Yeah.
And I think both options are reasonable here.
I like 3-betting a lot more than calling out of position. It depends, especially how you consider the big blind plays, And we're going to find out how the big blind plays now, waking up with ace-king suited, looking at an open and a 3-bet in front. What sizing do you like going here with, Doug?
I'd like to see something around the 900K type of size. If you start to go too much bigger than that, you commit yourself to the pot, and you go too much smaller, then you let Valorcine into call with some of his weaker 3-bets.
And Roman makes a good laydown.
When you have ace-king, though, and you take it down pre-flop in an open 3-bet, 4-bet situation, you're still pretty happy to pick up a sizable pot. And look, we both know how it goes with ace-king sometimes. We're back at the Big Four in Hollywood, Florida, and if you're wondering how the players are stacking up, here you go.
You got Jason Kuhn and Tom Medina far and away the chip leaders right now. Jason sitting shade under 5 million, and everyone else kind of falling by the wayside with Zoe Kareem right now, the short stack with 20 big blinds.
No one under $1 million, though, so still lots of play left.
Yeah, 9-handed gives you a lot of time to wait, The blinds are hitting you not that frequently. 2 jacks for Roman.
I only care about you guys can take the trophy.
Yeah.
For $100.
And he decides to open it up.
No, you can just take it. It's too heavy for me to carry. You get a back injury.
Fold the Balzano on the button, who wakes up with ace-10.
How much is the raise?
And being the second chip stack, anytime Jason doesn't enter a pot, see an opportunity for him to take advantage of the stacks that he covers.
And on the button, I think I'm fine with this. I also don't mind a 3-bet. Put some pressure on the opener.
You have like 4 million, right?
Yeah, I think 3-bet's a little better in situations where the blinds are going to squeeze more frequently, although the blinds are going to overcall, because I think ace-10 plays a lot worse 3 or 4 ways.
Big flop here for Valorstein. Flops middle set, and he's up against a gut shot.
He elects to bet very small, a third pot, 155,000, giving a very good price for Balzano to call and try to hit his gut shot.
And he makes the call.
Valentin turns a full house. So Valentin decides to check, and Balzano takes the free card and makes it straight. I don't think he's going to be very happy, though.
Now Valorstein has an interesting decision. Does he once again try and set the trap with a check, looking to check raise? Or does he bet, hoping his opponent has a queen or maybe the last jack, and he'll call a bet?
Do you think his opponent would bet and call a check raise with the worst hand than Jack's full?
I think he certainly could. A hand like ace-10 might, if Paul decided to check back a hand like 6s. I also think it's unlikely to see a hand better than Jacks here. given that King Jack is heavily blocked. Queens is likely going to re-raise pre-flop, and King Queen likely would have bet on the turn.
You can see that Balzano seems very pained, but he still makes the call and can find out he lost.
We've got another all-in here at the 25K high roller final table.
And we have some big action over at the high roller table. What's going on there, Chris?
Yeah, that's right, Sean. We do have some big action over here on the high roller table. Barry Hutter is all in, and he's looking to double up with kings. He's up against Ray Cardome with ace-9 offsuit. We're currently six-handed at this table. All little cards. That's good for Hutter. And here comes the turn. It's a 5 of hearts. Let's see if Hutter can double up. Oh, no, it's an ace on the river. And Barry Hutter goes from, I'm thinking I'm going to double up, to where did I park? Just like that. Barry does leave, though, with $120,000 for his work today. 5 players are left here at the high roller, including Dan Coleman. 6 players are left in the 2650. Just 4 players remain in the $1,100 event. And there are still 9 players that are remaining at the championship table. I mean, come on, what's with all the nits over there? Sean and Doug, back to you.
Thanks, Chris. Now back to the main event here at the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open Championship. Fold a Roman on the button. He wakes up with the Jack-6 suited. He decides to open up to 135,000.
You know, standard button open, especially as, you know, the stacks get deeper. These are hands you're going to want to...
Medina decides to flat the small blind with 2 9s. I'm sure Doug is not going to be a big fan of this, but I'm not surprised to see this on the way this final table's been playing out.
I'm a little more okay with this, I think. 9s weaker than jacks or queens.
So Roman flops a flush draw and an overcard to the 9s, and it's a good board for him being ace high. He's going to continuation bet 150,000, and I expect to see a call from Medina here.
And he makes the call. The turn is the 8 of hearts, and now a third of the deck can improve Valorstein to take this one down.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like a reasonable spot to barrel. You have jack high, you can't win in showdown. You have so many cards that improve your hand. Your opponent has a lot of hands that, especially like 2 9s, that could easily fold this turn. Even if he has a gut shot, you know, it's tough to call here with second pair.
This is a tough spot, though, for Medina. This is honestly a tough spot.
He's making the correct decision right now to call. We'll see what happens on this river card. And Roman makes his flush.
The good news for Medina here, if there's any good news, on a river like this, he can just decide to let his hand go. There aren't many hands he's beating now. In fact, some of the only hands he might beat are hands like 10-9 or Jack-9. And when you have 2 9s, those aren't too likely.
And I think Roman here recognizes his opponent's pretty weak. He doesn't really like that river card, so he decides to bet 1/3 pot.
These spots are tough because you're getting a great price. And whenever you get a great price, you have to mainly call, or else your opponent can bluff you. But when you get a good price versus a small bet like this, it's okay to let some of your worst hands go. I think 9s fits the bill.
And he makes the same decision. Doug Polk approved fold.
That was a well-played hand. Actually, you know what? I really
For both parties, yeah.
I like how they both played that hand a lot. Valorstein played the river better, though.
We'll be back with more of the SHRPO Championship after this.
We're still 9-handed here at the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open Championship. Poker Night is brought to you by Wasabi Mezcal.
The blinds are up right now. We're up to 40 and 80,000 with a 10K ante still. So Joe Sirach here with 2 9s under the gun. We're going to see an open from him.
Certainly the standard play. Looking to get a little action here with your pocket 9s, but you're hoping to not run into any higher pairs.
And Tim wakes up with 2 queens next act and 3 bets to 350,000.
Not ideal here for Sirach. Also, the min-raise pre-flop, definitely a play that you want to have in your arsenal, particularly against big blinds that you think might not be the strongest players. Back over to Sirach with 9s. I think we're going to see a call, and we're probably going to be taking a flop.
And Joe's got about $2 million back after he calls the additional 190,000 He's not loving his spot, but, you know, getting that price, he could have the best hand sometimes, and he's going to, you know, see what happens after he flops 3.
And when you have 9s here, there are really 2 kinds of flops. Those with a 9 and those without.
That is one with.
Now, in Bert's shoes here, it's a relatively safe flop. His opponent could have a hand like maybe ace-queen, a very conservative ace-king. He's only really going to be behind if his opponent has a hand like 9s or maybe jacks. Now the question is, should he call or should he raise? What do you think, Shaun?
I like calling here. I think that there's very few hands that have a lot of equity. Anyone that does is going to jam the turn. If he has ace-king, ace-queen of hearts, or king-queen of hearts, you're just not going to get those hands to fold.
One of the advantages to jamming is by doing this, it gives you a chance to also look to go all in when you have hands like, you know, ace-queen of hearts or queen-10 of hearts, some semi-bluffs. If you only have those draws when you go all in, your opponent can call you with some light holdings knowing that you're on a draw. By working in some sets, all of a sudden it becomes a lot worse to call here with a hand like queens.
Are you surprised Tim's taking this long before calling?
Well, having the queen of hearts is not very good here because that was quite the laydown. But having the queen of hearts here isn't a very good card. You want him to have a hand with the queen of hearts in it. So maybe he just thinks that having that card is too bad. Or maybe he just thinks that, you know, Sirach isn't really willing to bluff in this spot.
Got an all-in and call here over at the 1100 final table.
Sounds like something's going on over at the $1,100 event, Chris. What's happening?
Yeah, guys, it's Marcia Wolak over here at the $1,100 table, and she's all in with ace-9. Phil Hui has ace-4 offsuit, so Marcia in a good spot here. Of course, you got to survive the flop, turn, and river. And sorry I even brought that up, Marcia. That's probably my fault. 4 comes on the flop for Hui. Only a 9 will save Marcia. It doesn't come, and that will do it for Marcia Wolak. She leaves with $52,000. So now with the $1,100, we are heads up for a championship. First place, and that pays $151,000. We're still 4-handed over at the high roller, 6-handed at the 2650, and for the championship, 9-handed. Back to you, Shaun and Doug.
All right, thanks, Chris.
So people are getting a little bit shallower, and you see Jason actually lower his raise size to 2.4x here as opposed to 2.5 earlier. King 10 suited in the cutoff. And Zoe's in the tank here with his little over 9 big blinds and decides to go with ace 7 suited, knowing that he's ahead of Jason's opening range, and Jason opening so often in front, he may get some folds as well as he's not going to get too many spots that folds to him to open jam.
In general, once you get into the really short stack zone, you want to pick hands that have good high card value rather than hands that you're really relying on your fold equity.
Come on, guys.
Is the all-in player
Come
here.
on.
Listen, I owe more money out, man.
Going to the flop.
Why do you think I
Zoe's
have a
ahead
rail?
with his ace high.
And the flop's courtesy of Kimosabi Mescal and Citigo 2.0. What a flop for Zoe.
That is an extremely good flop for Zoe.
So now Jason can only hit a non-diamond king or 10 to win. And he finds it.
That is poker.
Sorry, buddy. Good game, Zoe.
And Zoe Cream gets knocked out here in 9th place, good for $75,000.
And now everyone else is guaranteed 6 figures at 100,000 with 8 players remaining in this tournament.
There's nothing quite like being at a final table. You're always rooting for everyone else to bust because then every one of you gets richer.
So folded Balzano here on the button. He opens the king queen off. My personal favorite hand in the world. It's 175,000. Looks like Joe is sizing up a 3-bet here.
And we're going to see Joe make a move here with 7-5 suited. Now, with king queen on the button, you got some options. I do not think fold is one of them, but both call and raise do make some sense. He decides to call, and I think I prefer that.
Well, you have the button, you know, position's pretty sweet, and, you know, with these stack to pop, ooh, and that with that flop, you love every decision you made.
And we see a quick check here from Sirach with the low flush draw. Now, this is going to play fairly easily on the flop. I imagine he's going to go for the check call. But it's going to get weird on the turn because he has no showdown value, which normally makes this a pretty good candidate to go ahead and bet the flop. It's definitely worth noting to have some flush draws in your check call range on the flop. So when you check call, you can turn a flush. But the problem with weak ones are that if you face a turn barrel, you're going to have to fold, which makes you prefer going for more aggressive lines.
It'd be funny if they finished before we were still like non-handed.
He's counting his remaining stack and deciding what to do.
I mean, at least not the flatter.
He bets 700K with about 1.3 million back. Very scary bet because he looks very committed to Joe. And Joe finds the fold. All right, we're down to 8 now. $5 million championship here at the Big Four. Who'll be the next to hit the showers? We're back.
At the Big Four.
We're still 8-handed in the 5K main event, $1 million to first tournament. Jason Kuhn's still the significant chip leader at this table. Joe Sorok opens 2 fours to 185,000 in a cutoff.
And the action over Tim Burton, the button, going for the 3-bet with my favorite hand, Deeb, pocket aces.
Oh, and someone has half of my favorite hand.
You know what you started with, Flows?
And then another card, 2 kings.
Like 2.
Thanks.
Roman is just in a terrible spot here. Lay position open, button 3-bet. He's sitting here in the big blind, looks at 2 kings. He's just praying for action, and he's not going to be happy with the action he gets.
All in?
He jams. Wow.
All in from the big blind. And Tim quickly calls. Tim shows aces.
This is the face of a man up against aces.
This
Let the
time
best
over
hand
here
win.
on the
Come
5K
on.
main.
Just put a king out there.
With an ace.
I'm pretty sure I'm getting there.
Any kings about?
The flop is Jack, 8, deuce, rainbow. So
Not what
aces
you're looking for with
still
pocket
ahead.
kings. Not even any backdoor outs.
No more pain.
He's a
We don't even
king.
sweat. We'll take a deuce on turn.
That was close.
Tim
It was
says
close.
no more pain, but the pain does come. It's not the king, though. It's the queen. Roman needs a king. Otherwise, Tim's going to double up here.
And the aces get the hold.
Card you're looking for.
And Bert
Knock
doubles
you a
up to
deuce
4.1
here,
million chips.
Double up to Roman here.
In running for the chip lead, still a little bit behind Jason Kuhn, but now he's got some ammo.
He's definitely a very experienced pro. You know, he's a couple circuit rings under his belt, and he's had a lot of results over his career.
Looking to add to that resume here with a $1 million first place prize. And we're looking at a couple ace jacks.
You're going to see as more and more people get knocked out, you know, the ranges are opening up. You're not going to see as many tight folds as you saw to start 9-handed.
And now the action is on Roman Wallerstein with Queen 9 of spades. Let's it go.
He really wanted to squeeze there, but, you know, he knew that no one's opening that wide, no one's flatting that wide. It would have worked, I think, versus these 2 hands, but I still think it was the right fold overall.
This is going to be interesting. Whenever you see 2 players with the same hand, it oftentimes comes down to who wants to be more aggressive.
And I think the pre-flop raise would win very frequently, but, I mean, Queen 10 hits the flatters range a lot. He has his king queens, his ace queen, pocket 10s, queen jack suited, you know. There's just so many hands that Seth has here that are really strong. Seth actually has the worst hand probably in his range on this board, equity-wise and absolute hand value, so he decides to turn into a bluff.
Kind of offering a small bet. You have a gut shot. Might not even be good. And we see a check raise. Going for it here.
Just way too small of sizing. I mean, I think if you want to bluff here, I think you got to put a lot more over 3x because of how small a bet it was. Because if you had a strong hand, why would you not just call if you're trapping? Why would you make that raise? It seems very face up, and I think Seth smelled correctly that, you know, Tim's telling a story that isn't true.
One of the things I like about it is that if Davies has a queen, it's never getting through. If he doesn't have a queen, then it actually might get him off of some hands. Now, I know he called here with ace-jack, had the backdoor nut flush draw, certainly a loose call. I think I'm okay with the size. A little small, I would agree with you, but on paired boards, going for that small size, not exactly ideal. And Davies takes it down with a bet on the turn.
A very tiny bet, by the way, only 350, and it still worked. And that's kind of using his position well and using his stack leverage and recognizing that, Tim had a polarized range of being, boats and, big trips, or just kind of a bluff. And so his bluffs are going to fold, and he gets kind of a free showdown versus those hands that he doesn't have much equity versus.
We really saw the value position manifest itself in that hand.
Speaking of position, now it's on Roman on the button. He has King Jack offsuit.
Alex from the WB.
He's surprised it by elects to limp here. We saw him raise Jack 6 suited earlier.
I suppose his logic is he doesn't want to raise and then get re-raised. It's very awkward for this hand. And so by just calling on the button, he can be up against 2 random hands in the blinds, get to play some post-flop.
He's not playing post flop. He's playing pre-flop now.
How much?
Well, he
Ryan
is
elects
now.
to jam his 15 big blind stack.
125.
And this is aggressive.
I love it. This is old school tournament poker. Ryan came up in the streets with me. We battled a lot, 10, 12 years ago. And this is the thing when people button limp and they kind of are weak, it's going to be tough for Roman, call off 15 big blinds here. He doesn't think Ryan would shove as wide as he's shoving. Oh, and he takes the jam, and he got caught.
Sometimes good plays just don't get rewarded. I think you can jam a lot of hands here in the big blind without having to include King Deuce off.
And it's Jack or Deuce.
Great flop here for Alex Deeb.
Ryan's in a lot of trouble right now.
Here comes the turn. It's
And
another
now he's
Jack.
dead.
Jack is going to do it.
Great turn here for Alex Deeb.
Ryan's going to be eliminated in 8th place for $100,000.
Still not too bad. Show up, your card dead, try to make a move, walk away with $100K.
Here in your hometown, buy in 5,000, make 95,000 profit. There's worse ways to spend your week.
And it looks like another all-in and a call here between Russ and Phil. And
Sounds like something's happening over at the $1,100 event, Chris. What's going on?
Well, Phil Hui is all in. It's down to 8 deuce for him, and it's a $60,000 difference between first and second place. Let's see if he can stay alive in this $1,100 championship. Russ Deichstein has 7s, so we need some luck here for Phil Hui. Otherwise, the championship is going to go to Deichstein. Flop is ace-7 tray, a set of 7s for Russ. A lot of work for Hui. Oh, and look at that. Hui picks up a flush draw on the turn, but he can't get there on the river, and so that is going to do it. Second place to Philip Hui, and the championship for the $1,100 event goes to Russ Deichstein. So here's a quick recap of the $1,100 no-limit event that had 828 entries, all ponying up the $1,100 for an $828,000 prize pool. And our top 3 payouts go to Marcia Wolak with $52,000, Philip Hui with $87,000, and your $1,100 no-limit champion is Russ Deichstein. Now down to 3 tables. Let's check out the 2650. Looks like they're still 6-handed over there. We are down to 3 at the high roller, and man, Dan Coleman is still in it. And as you know, over at the championship table with another elimination, you are now down to 7. Doug and Shaun, back to you.
Thanks, Chris. 1 table down, 3 to go.
Welcome back to Poker Night in America. And before we get to it, I just wanted to remind the viewers that we have a free poker app available for Android or iOS. Just by downloading and playing, you automatically qualify for a sweepstakes to win real-world prizes, including a chance to win a seat at our poker table. We'll fly you out, pay for everything, and give you a $5,000 buy-in to play poker on our show. This is totally free, no catch. We just wanted to give our fans a poker night they'll never forget. With Zoe Kareem out in 9th place and Ryan Fair now eliminated 8th for $100,000, we're down to 7 players. Currently, Jason Kuhn is a sizable chip leader, a shade under 7 million here on 6.9, and we still have a few other stacks, all ranging around 3 to 4 million. So no clear-cut second place emerges yet, but plenty of play for the players here at the table.
The next player eliminated 7th will be walking away with $125,000. So this hand, because Ryan busted in the big blind, there's no small blind, so it's a little bit less to fight over, being 40K less in the pot. But Seth is always going to play these 2 aces.
Opens it up. Now we're going to see if he can get some action.
He had ace-6 that hand when he shipped on me. I folded 2 9s.
And Medina looks down at ace-10 on the button. He's got some options.
That hand, and I was like,
Yeah, I would have had to have like, I mean, I was Jackson probably hating it and calling.
He elects to 3-bet to 625, which is going to work over most hands, but not this one.
The question now for Davies here is, should he go for the call and try and slow play this, which I believe Deeb is a fan of, or should he fast play and try and stack him?
Well, he's deciding to go Shaun Deeb Super System.
I'm also a fan of this, by the way. I think this is a great play. Balances out maybe some of the weaker calls you want to make. You're not too worried about hands he might improve to, and you give him a shot to hang himself post-flop.
Yeah, I think it's going to see-bet a lot, and you're going to pick up those chips. And, you know, when you have aces, there's not too many hands that can call jam. So you're just, like, if you cool him and he has, like, 10s plus, you're probably going to stack him on most boards anyway.
He jams and takes it down.
Nice picking up over 1 million chips without aces, and no one even knows you had them.
Always nice to win chips. However, on TV poker, they're eventually going to know. It's much better in non-televised poker to have big hands and not go to showdown.
95,000 for that.
Jason made a fold that I'm kind of surprised. It's chip lead right now. The way table's playing, I'd be opening a7 there. I don't love it, but I think it's reasonable. I kind of play the blocker value, and you kind of just keep abusing all these stacks behind you. So Joe wakes up with 2 deuces, decides to min raise. And Joe's being the short stack of the table. He really doesn't have to worry about, you know, being abused because he's got to gamble. He can't fold and hope someone busts. It's not going to happen too often.
If there's anything good to be said about being the short stack, it's that you don't have to worry about busting because you were the shortest stack. You didn't really give away that much value. It's the middle stacks that end up in trouble in a lot of these situations.
Joe decides to check back the king 6-4 flop with 2 deuces, and the turn is an ace, where Roman now takes the lead with his pair of aces.
This card in general will be good for Sirach because he's going to open up a lot of ace-x hands pre-flop, meaning that he could decide to go ahead and turn his deuces into a bluff.
And a check from Durbin. It rolls over ace.
Yeah, I think it's one of those spots where you decide if you're going to bet 2 streets or, you know, check back, check turn and river. And I think he's very rarely going to bet this turn without firing the river, unless, like, the worst card in the deck, say the king of spades, comes off. That might be the one card he might not 2-barrel.
You want to have some bluffs to go 2 barrels and some bluffs to go 1. If you always fire 2, your opponent can try and hero call you. So certainly worth picking some out, but I do like betting twice in a situation with a lot of hands.
Would deuces be one of those hands?
Deuces is a reasonable hand to do it with. Deuce is a very weak hand. You don't really block any of the potential draws that could check call. I'd prefer to have deuces without a spade, but really doesn't matter too much. So yeah, this seems totally fine to me. And he does not get that through. Close though. That was close.
Yeah, those chips are almost his. He thought the pot was his as soon as he released, and then he knew it wasn't. But just because it didn't work doesn't mean it was a bad play. More poker action from the Big Four after this. Welcome back to the Big Four, and we are still 7-handed at the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open Championship.
Let's go to the flop.
Valorcine opens up to 175K with ace-10 off. Over to Jacuna on the button.
Jacuna has a serious face.
7 from the board, and Jeffrey is going to double up here. Ace high is going to take this one down.
Oh, we got 2 big hands here. Jason decides to click it back pretty much, which is a very, very small, almost minimal raise, and he makes the 175 to 300.
I cannot see any way around Balzano putting his tournament life at risk here and being in dire straits.
The raise to 175,000.
He elects to go for the cold 4-bet. I love his sizing, 875. He's not fully committed. It looks like he could be bluffing if Jason's, you know, just abusing his big stack.
All in.
But unfortunately for him, Jason woke up with the goods on the button. Yeah, I think Paul just can't fold here. I mean, you don't love your spot, but Queen's just too good of a hand. And there's just coolers in poker you can't be mad at yourself for.
Call.
He says call. Jason shows pocket king.
The first king flips over. He's saying, please be an ace. But it's not. It is another king. And his tournament life is on the line.
No help on the flop, no backdoors.
He needs a queen.
Close there with the jack of diamonds on the turn. So 2 outs to suck out and survive and to become chip leader. This is the pot for chip lead.
It's a very large pot, probably the largest pot of the tournament. Kings hold and Jackoon destroying the table up to over 10 million chips.
Paul finishes up in 7th place for 125,000, while Jason Koot is now up over 10 million, dominating his opponents. Roman Valentin second, 4.5, and followed by Seth Davies, Tim Burt, Tom Medina, and Joe Sirach rounding out the bottom, and come back 6-handed, playing for $1 million. That's it for today, but we'll wrap up all the action here from the Big Four next time on Poker Night in America.
If you want more Poker Night, you can find us on social media, including Twitch and YouTube, where you can find full episodes, live streams, and exclusive content. Also, don't forget to download our free poker app. You and your friends can have your very own Poker Night, as well as a chance to win a seat on our show. Search for us in your app store and download it today. From everyone here at Poker Night in America, I'm Doug Polk.
And I'm Shaun Deeb, and thanks for watching.
For the 3rd year in a row, the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open played host to the Charity Series of Poker. Kicking off the SHRPO Championship Week, players turned out for a special $300 event, this year benefiting actor Brad Garrett's Maximum Hope Foundation.
The Maximum Hope Foundation helps provide financial assistance to the families of children with terminal illnesses.
Even if you have insurance, a lot of these families are literally financially wiped out, because at least one parent has to quit their job to stay home with the child.
And so it's to pay for their basic necessities like utilities, and it's a very personal charity for Brad, and Matt Stout organized it through his Charity Series of Poker. So it makes me feel really good that all the poker players are here, helping out a good cause, and, I think we'll probably all have a good time too.
After the CSOP welcoming party wrapped up at El Bar, participants made their way to the tournament area to begin the event. In total, players raised $30,000 for the Maximum Hope Foundation, and SHRPO Chance Cornuth took the top prize of $5,000 and the SHRP Guitar Pick Trophy.
And so if a family finds themselves in this situation where they might need some help from you guys, how would they go about getting in touch with your foundation?
All they have to do is get in touch with MaximumHopeFoundation.org is how they can pull us up. And if they qualify for the assistance, which usually has to be backed up by a doctor, a social worker from the hospital, then we're happy to help them out.
Poker Night in America is brought to you by Kimosabe Mezcal
and Sit and Go 2.0.